Vroom. Hi everybody, Peter here, a video sponsored by Squarespace. And as I sat down to do this drawing, for a good portion of it, I don't know if you can tell this just by looking at it, but for a good portion of this drawing, I was just scribbling away pretty frantically. This is because I was putting off doing a drawing because I had a lot of thoughts bouncing around in my head, not about drawing, about random life stuff that I was kind of putting off confronting. And when I sit down to draw, that's when all the thoughts come to the forefront, and you just have to kind of confront them, because drawing is kind of meditative in that way. I'm not an expert on meditation, but it seems like kind of maybe one of the things you do during meditation is just kind of sit there, and if a thought comes to you, just acknowledge it and then let it go. Concentrate on your breathing and stuff, right? Acknowledge the weight of your body, breathe some more, feel it go in, feel the breath go out, so on and so forth. And drawing is kind of like that, in the sense that I'm concentrating on the drawing, feeling the pen go across the paper, seeing the shapes form, but the thoughts come, the thoughts go, and I knew this would happen because I had some thoughts in the back of my brain that I knew would come right to the front if I sat down and started drawing. And so for like the whole day, I was like, I need to sit down and draw something that I do. I need to make this video, but these thoughts are going to pop right up, because I had one of these weekends where everything is scheduled all at once, and I could only do one thing. And I was trying to do this work, life, friends, family, school, juggling act where I'm trying to balance everything. And there was almost one thing from each area of my life happening all at once, and I could only choose one thing. And I had this distinct feeling that whatever I chose, I would enjoy doing that thing, but I would also regret not doing the other things. And so I chose one of them, and I enjoyed it. But then, as I sat down to draw, finally, I was like, oh, should I have done all these other things, right? I knew that those thoughts were going to come into my head. Should I have gone to this? Should I have gone to that? Maybe I made the wrong choice. Am I going to regret this in a week, in a year, in 100 years? I think maybe I'll be around in 100 years. I don't know. Anyway, so sometimes this happens with my drawing. And so I was not doing one of those very intentional, careful drawings where I just carefully put down each line. I was going pretty quick, just like scribbling. I was still creating cool textures and shapes like I always do, but it was just going fast, and I was just like, I've said this before, but drawing is kind of my way of like, sometimes you want to like scream into the pillow or something. This is my way of like screaming onto the paper. But it got better. It was helpful, because as I sat there, I realized that it's all going to be okay. That's pretty much the conclusion I came to. So somehow, I don't remember exactly how I got to that conclusion, but by the end of the drawing, I think my pen strokes had slowed down a little bit. I was feeling a little bit more in control of the pen, and I was feeling better about the previous weekend, feeling a little bit better about my life. So I think drawing has always been a little bit therapeutic to me in that way, and I'm happy for that. Also, speaking of meditation, this is very tangentially related, but I was watching this. Wait. First, let's do a little sponsored doodle. Check out Squarespace. Scroll through all the amazing templates they have. Whatever your taste is, they probably have a template that is good for you. And then drag and drop the modules around. They have image galleries, calendars, link sections. You can embed videos. It's amazing all the different things they have. You can customize it to your heart's content, or just leave it like the template shows it. You can make secret pages. You can make little, menus at the top that drop down and everything, and it all looks good. So I'm happy with my Squarespace website. It's easy to edit and update. Go to squarespace.com for your free trial. And then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/PeterDraws for 10% off your first website or domain. Yeah, so I was watching this movie called Tar. You've probably heard of it, maybe not, but it's kind of popular right now. Well, maybe not, but I was watching it, and it's a good movie. I could tell it's a good movie, but the problem is it's an artsy movie, and you have to know that going in. My problem was it was a long day. I was tired, and I would have, in that state of mind, been more suited to sitting down and watching something a little bit more mindless. And this is not exactly a mindless movie. I admit it's like well crafted. I like it when movies do things that other movies typically don't. Like this movie has like long scenes of like one character talking. Like it's interesting and it's good, but my brain just wasn't there for it. I was just getting so sleepy. I had to turn it off halfway through, and anyways, it's fine. But there was this one, I'm not trying not to spoil it, but there was this one scene. I think like the character is getting bothered by her conscience, and these little things keep happening to her. It's not a funny movie, but there was one scene where I busted out laughing because the character is driving her car. It's like a brand new Porsche or something, and she looks over, and part of her paneling in the car is like vibrating and shaking and making this annoying little noise. And that's when I just started laughing, because I think in the movie that was probably like it's supposed to be like one other tiny little thing of that was her conscience bothering her, because this has been happening to her a lot and in like a million different ways. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting that because I only watched half the movie. But I just laughed out loud right then, because that has been happening to me so much. I don't have a Porsche, I have a Corolla, but I'm tying this back into meditating and Zen and Buddhism, which I've been reading some books about lately, because when you try to like meditate and kind of like center yourself and be mindful, sometimes you have like the presence of mind to be like, okay, I need to like calm down and just like be present in this moment. Sometimes you have the presence of mind to do that a little bit more when like something obviously stressful is happening. Like there was like a very stressful altercation with someone, or you had a bad day or something. But sometimes when I'm driving in my car, everything else is going fine, and like one little piece of my car is making this tiny vibrating noise, and I can't even tell where it's coming from. Maybe it's like deep inside the dashboard, or this, I think maybe like the little handle up right next to my head that you're supposed to grab. I don't know why the driver would ever grab that instead of driving, but some little thing is like vibrating, and sometimes I kind of like hit the dashboard, which makes it stop, but I know that if I hit it, it's probably just going to make things looser. So I don't know why that works, but it does. Anyways, it's weird that sometimes it's the little things that get to you more, and you don't start thinking about like, hey, just like calm down for a second. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but let me expound on the Buddhism thing for a little bit, because I did read some interesting books, a few books just on the history of Buddhism, but the more interesting books I read were by this Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh, I think is how you say his name. Maybe 3 or 4 books by him. The first one I read was definitely the most interesting and insightful, called The Art of Living. And it was really cool. Now, the first time I was introduced to Thich Nhat Hanh, I think he died just recently, just a few years ago. He had a community in France called like Plum Village or something adorable like that. Anyways, the first time I heard of him, really, that I remember or was introduced to him, was in Seattle. Nope, no, Portland. I do get those mixed up, probably to the chagrin of people up there. But I was in Portland, spring break. I was in the interior architecture program at the college I go to now before I switched majors to art. And we were there on a spring break trip to go view some, visit architecture firms, view some different buildings to look at like the green architecture and stuff like that. So we were touring buildings and stuff like that. And it was on the very last day. Everyone else had gone home, but I had a late flight, and there was also just me and one of my instructors there for like, we were there for like 8 hours longer or something like that. And this instructor, she always kind of struck me as a kind of, I mean this in the best way possible, but kind of like a severe and earnest kind of just very, she cared about what she cared about, and she didn't want other stuff getting in the way of it, right? She's this kind of woman. And I appreciated that at school because I want the information, I want the instruction, I want the feedback. But it's a little bit weird when you're like traveling, you just want to, especially when the trip is officially over. And I will say she was a very good traveler. Like she knew how to get around, see the cool things. Really, I only have good things to say about her, but I just want to say, I'm just saying this because some of the other students didn't like her because she wasn't like laughing and joking all the time. But anyways, so I met her. We like dropped off our luggage at this hotel, which would hold our luggage for her. It's like an Airbnb, but just for your luggage. They held our luggage, and then I met her at a record store, and then we went to this Chinese garden, which is beautiful. We walked around this Chinese garden, and then we went to the tea house. And at our table, there was this little sign. It was like old, ratty, stained with tea, I think. And this has stuck with me for a long time. The sign said this. It's a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. It said, "Drink your tea slowly and reverently, as if it is the axis on which the world earth revolves, slowly, evenly, without rushing toward the future." And I did. I think I really tried to drink my tea like that. And I think it was really one of the, I'm not a tea aficionado. I don't really know anything about tea. But I had this tiny little cup of tea. It was like the size of a shot glass. And it was just like this such amazing cup of tea. I was drinking it like that was the only thing in the world at the moment, Just giving it all of my attention. And I think maybe that's like the whole, one of his, Thich Nhat Hanh's like, what he espouses is like, whatever you're doing at the moment, give it all of your attention and be there with the people who you're with at that moment. Not be constantly worrying about things you did in the past, like, did I make the right decision last weekend about what to do? So I'm slowly learning. I wouldn't consider myself Buddhist, but I think a lot of things I read in that book I found applicable in a practical way to my life on a daily basis. That's why I like it. Anyways, I didn't mean to ramble for this long, but see you later. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.